All right, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen, with UFC heavyweight Jared Vanderaa, who makes his return in 2 weeks against Justin Tafa on May 22nd, UFC Fight Night. Jared, how is everything going? How are you feeling?
Tired right now. Just got done with practice maybe an hour and a half ago. Uh, so tired, hungry. About to get lunch after this. Yeah, and start my Saturday.
Sounds like the usual for a UFC fighter, especially in the training camp. Are you trying to cut weight right now, or is that something that you really just need to focus on, like the last week of training, or how does that work?
A little bit of both. I'm just trying to lower my weight as much as possible. My last fight, I don't know if it was mental, nerves, stress, something. I had a hard time like during COVID, like the week of the December 12th when I was originally supposed to fight Speedback, my weight was on point. I was actually like 269, 268. I was doing good. The second when I actually fought him, for some reason I don't know what it was, but I was fucking like 280 the week of 275 or something like that. I was on the heavier side for whatever reason. Like I don't know if it was stress, something, but I could not cut the weight, and I mean, I I just didn't look good. Like right now, I'm about 277/75, depending on the time of day. So I'm about 275. I'm actually lighter than I was coming in. I still got 2 more weeks, so I'm hoping the week of the fight I'm cracking 270. I don't necessarily need to be at 265, but ideally, if I'm the week of the fight, I'm under 265. Awesome, but not necessarily a deal breaker. Dropping 5 pounds of water weight is easy for anyone, and like weight cut wise is not difficult for me. I just don't like doing it. I went from 205 to heavyweights to avoid weight cutting. But ever since I started working with my strength and conditioning coach, because I don't lift weights, I've actually put on a lot of muscle pretty quick. So that's kind of made this weight cut a little weirder to operate. I'm not used to having to actually pay attention that, oh, I actually lifted and certain thing like because I do a lot more leg stuff if I do lift. Just it's like my naturally strong suit, like
Mhm.
my strongest characteristic. So bam, my legs just bulk up a little bit. So finding pants has become another pain in the ass. Uh yeah, that so I feel like I'm losing weight, leaning out. I'm not as lean as I would like to be. I was hoping to be leaner, and I spent the last 8 weeks really trying to dial in my weight cut, but damn, it did not go as planned. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy with what I'm seeing, but I was hoping to be a little bit leaner by now.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you mentioned the sort of the preparation for your first UFC fight, and obviously it didn't go your way. That certainly may have played a factor, but what did you sort of take away from that fight? Obviously, it was a fight that yeah, I'm sure you wish you could get back. It was someone that you had called out. What did you feel went wrong, and what have you found that you're able to learn from and apply for your next fight? It's a quick turnaround.
Uh, this one it's one of the biggest things is I like shorter fights. So the fact that I went from like I got done fighting I think with November 4th to the 5th or something like that. Literally the next day, literally like not even a full 24 hours from my fight, my manager was like, "Hey, you got your speedback fight." I'm like, "Cool, when is it?" He goes, 4.5 weeks. I'm like, let's do this. Um, like to me, that was easy. Like I wasn't stressing. I was already fight ready. I was like, oh, I'm good to go. Like I can't. I went into that fight. I was like, oh, this is gonna be. Mm. But then I got COVID. Boom. That took me out for like a week, 2 weeks, whatever it was. And then it was the holidays, so it's all tied up. Boom. I shot up in weight. I blew up.
Mhm.
Started working out and trying to drop my weight a little before the new year, and I don't know if it was stress, finding out that my fiance is pregnant, whatever it was. I just wasn't cutting the weight enough. And then about I think mid January to later January, I met up with Brandon, who's my wrestling coach and my strength and conditioning coach. We just started working together, and he's a wrestler. Like he was a D1 JUCO wrestler. So when his experience is very new in a lot of ways into the MMA scene, but his wrestling caliber and stuff like that. So we go in the speedback fight. Me and him were talking after the fights. He's like, "Hey, I didn't know too much about like the fusion of jiu-jitsu completely." He goes, "I know some jiu-jitsu, but not. I'm not black belt." He goes, I know how, like, wrestling wise, I know how to get up. What I would like to see you as a wrestler. Let's work on these things. So I had a very new coach in that sense, and it I don't want to blame him for anything like that because I only have like maybe on a best 6 weeks worth with him, if that.
Mhm.
Um, and you can't, you only do so much with 6 weeks, and not only was it the 6 weeks, like that prolonged time, just I got in my own damn head, like, oh this and oh that, and then that I'm thinking to myself, oh, these guys are so much better. Do I even belong here? Am I capable of doing this? Ooh, the lights are shiny. I get in there, not to be like, oh, I got completely outclassed. Dude got in my half guard and we stayed there. Okay, like, I mean, I didn't really do anything to improve my position, but he couldn't even pass my half guard.
Mhm.
Now, that's bad on both ends, but because he was on top, that was great for him. And honestly, I like top half guard, so I'm not even like mad that he didn't want to pass. So I'm not even like, oh, he didn't pass because he couldn't. I mean, as I promote top half guard, but at the same time, he did try to pass, but I wouldn't let him. And I'm just like, okay, well, you could have stopped it. You could have done more. You stopped the guard half guard pass. You could have done more. And it was one of those things where I don't know if I just overestimated his ability when it wasn't as this his sambo or wrestling or whatever you want to call it was so much more vast than mine that that came to bite me in the ass.
Mhm. Yeah, well, it was an interesting fight because, I'd watched a bunch of your, like, EFC fights. You didn't look like yourself, so I wasn't sure if it was, um, the fact that this was, like, so personal, or you mentioned, on the Dana White Contender Series that, sometimes if you have too much time that you'll overthink, fights. You mentioned a pretty tough weight cut in the last week. But it definitely didn't, look like yourself, competing. So, what changes have you made, if any, to prepare for Justin Tafa?
Uh, I've done a lot more things for the mental aspect of it. Something I want to continue with, win or lose after this fight, just because I think it's shown it's really helped me. And it's weird because from EFC to the UFC and Smash Global LFA, there's something else about it. Like there's really a different way, and like even like we'll go talk about the social media aspect of it. Oh, everyone and their goddamn grandma knows something about fighting that you don't, and everyone is a fucking expert. And you hear some of these people like, oh, people talk shit. They'll talk shit about anything you say. You can make a funny comment that has nothing negative about someone. You're getting harassed for it. If you say something that a lot of people don't like, harassment. I'm just like, God.
Mhm.
There's a female fighter that be another female fighter that I personally do not like as a human being. I've had interactions with her on multiple occasions, and I do not like her.
In the UFC?
Not yet in the UFC, but in other promotions.
Okay.
I do not like her. I'm not going to say her name because as much as I don't like her,
Sure.
there is a level of my personal feelings don't need to go into our professional field.
Sure.
I don't like her. Now, so they posted a picture of the female that won, and it wasn't her. So I was like, hey, that's a great win. Now, the fight itself was a boring fight, but for the other girl to win, it's a good win and a name on her record.
Mm-hmm. A win's a win.
Yeah, win's a win, and it was a great win for this person. Okay, no. Oh my God, I might as well slap the shit out of a fucking 2-year-old. They're like, oh, that was bullshit. Da 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 da. And then, like, because the person that won was Latina. Oh my God, there's some comments that went straight racism. I'm like, why the fuck did that matter?
Yeah, no, social media can be scary, and especially, I mean, you're mentioning that, this fighter's not in the UFC, but I feel like, now that you're in the UFC, your fights, and anyone's fights that you're, commenting with or associated with, are just on this massive scale where, a lot of people you say like, do you like MMA? And they go like, oh, UFC? I mean, it's that's where all of the eyeballs are. I think that, other than really like hardcores, like, people wouldn't know what like LFA or EFC is. Some people don't even know Bellator that I speak to.
Yeah.
So, it's really interesting that that you're on this stage now, and I'm sure that social media wise, I mean, you've probably been bombarded even when you're just putting out positive things. Has that been tough to get used to?
Oh my God. Like, yeah, it's like some of the people I've talked to, they're like, yeah, it gets real annoying real quick. I'm they're like, you'll see. They're like, we can't explain it to you. It's going to be something you're going to have to experience for yourself. And I'm like, really? And so, like, I've gotten this one person that I must live in his head rent free though, because he's always like this. I'm like, damn, dude, like you have a lot of time to be messaging me about my life choices.
Is it a fan or a fellow fighter or something?
He says he's a professional fighter. So
Sure.
I was curious. I looked him up on all your major fight. Can't fucking find him. I'm like, oh, of course. And then he's just constantly insulting me, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. And he keeps on insulting me. I'm just like, damn. Like, do you have this much time? I'm like, I wish I had this much time.
He might be fishing for a fight. You never know.
Yeah, no, like it's one of those things where I'm starting to like understand where like no matter what I do, it's just someone's fucking butthurt about it.
Yeah.
What is it like? My favorite one is where I wear like this shirt right here, or like any other like more edgier stuff. Like this one says "Crafted by the Devil." I have a shirt that has a pentagram on it, or an inverted pentagram. Oh my God, how I offend so many people wearing that. I'm like, my favorite one is I get called, it's like, oh, you're trying to get the Illuminati's attention. I'm like, aren't you special? Like, I wish the Illuminati was real. Like, I just so that statement could be more relevant.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, I mean, I feel it's only going to get crazier. It's only going to get more, especially, I mean, if you go in and, you knock Justin Tafa out, and you call somebody out, I mean, there's going to be, a lot of Twitter, Instagram, all these different, trolls that are going to come after you. And
Yeah,
you're
that's
probably, the good thing is I think you're going to get to the point where you're not even necessarily going to see all the talking that's going on.
yeah. No, like I'll use like my boy Sam and Dom. Like lately has been good for them.
Hmm.
Some people are like Sam, really good at deflecting that shit. Like he's maybe the best I've seen. Like he goes, hey, like he'll be like, hey, this is how you might want to look at things. Try to deflect it. Try to make a fan out of this person.
Hmm.
So like he will go. He'll show me some of the things that like how he approaches it. Now, problem is Sam's a very positive and good human being.
Hmm.
I, on the other hand, I'm an asshole, and it's so hard. I mean, it's so hard to not just be like, hey, you could just fuck off. Go sit on
Sure.
my cactus.
Sure.
Like, it's so hard for me to bite my tongue.
Yeah.
I've gotten better because I own a business,
Yeah.
but I like the asshole in me still there.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you said Sam and Dom, just to clarify, Sam Alvey, Dom Reyes, right? Your
Yeah.
training partners. Yeah, I'm sure that it's great to have training partners that have more fights in the UFC and have experienced more of that bright lights. Have they been able to pass on like some helpful advice to you when you were getting ready for your debut?
Um, just more motivational stuff. Because I like I'll use me and Sam because we are stylistically like everything from stylistically to just how we train. Not necessarily bad, but we are two entirely different. Like on the spectrum, he's here, I'm here.
Hmm.
Just that works for him. This works for me. We like so he doesn't be like, oh, duh. He's like, hey, it's going to be big. Things are going to be big and bright. Watch out. Try to relax. Take it in and go with it. Dom's kind of like the same way. He goes, yeah, things start happening, but be positive. You got this. We know you're a badass. Go show the world. They're like very motivated, positive people.
That's excellent. Yeah, well, Dominick Reyes is actually one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. Obviously, things lately you mentioned have not been going so well for him, fight wise, but flashback maybe, a year and a half ago, and he's preparing to fight John Jones for the light heavyweight title. Since then he's fought, arguably two of the other, best light heavyweights in the division, along with himself. What has it been like to train with him? And yeah, I guess what has it been like to train with him? Someone that's maybe, always been probably in the top five of light heavyweight contention while you've been training.
I mean, honestly, it's been fun, enjoyable. Like the John Jones fight was actually a fun camp for us because I have a pretty close reach to him. He still has like about what two to like I'm an 81 inch. He has like an 84 inch, so a few inches off. And I mean, I grew up watching John Jones. Like that was kind of my first like I want to be like him type of person.
Yeah.
So going in there helping him prep is, it's like I got you. I could. I've done things stylistically to mimic Jones as much as possible, and it looked like some of the stuff that we worked on. And I'm not going to like I can't take credit for what he did in the ring. It was just cool to see him being able to, feel like I was part of that journey.
Yeah.
But I think some of the looks I gave him might have helped him for that fight. Now, because like I said, John Jones was kind of like a hero and idol, it was easier to mimic. Jan, I didn't know too much about, and I kind of stopped paying attention to the light heavyweights because I knew that I was going to be stuck in the heavyweight division. Light heavyweights was way out of the way from me. So I was like, all right, cool. I totally didn't think of Jan, not to like disrespect him, but I just never thought like to watch Jan, figure out his style.
Yep.
So he goes in there, he loses. Now, I didn't know so much about his last guy that I don't know his name.
It's Yuri. I'm not sure. I'm also not sure on the pronunciation of the last name, but I will say I think he is impossible to mimic. I've never seen somebody that fights like him.
No, that was the issue. If I actually watched his style, I win. That's how I train. Like I will fight that way, like Yuri, just for fun.
Mhm.
When I do that style, I find myself a lot more relaxed and a lot more free. It sounds stupid, but I can get hit less, and people are like, "Your hands are down." I'm like, "Doesn't matter," because when I feel here, I feel very stiff. My hands here, I feel a lot more loose. My shoulders are loose. So it was, I wouldn't say upsetting, or like I was upset with myself because I didn't watch the video to help Dom on that. And I'm upset with myself because if I could have trained with Dom that way, I would have been so much happier.
Mhm.
But I actually like Yuri's style. And I like the fact that he's like, fuck it, I'm doing it my way. Uh, because that is something I do prefer fighting like that. I get a lot of shit from everybody when I do train like that. They're like, that's not the proper way. This person does that. And I'm just like, well, I'm better this way. And I beat the crap out of them. And
I think a lot more folks are gonna, you kind of need. You mentioned like that watch John and the way that he fights and can mimic him. I think that once a fighter gets top five championship level, fighting a certain way, it then is almost like the role model effect where other people are like,
very
oh,
true.
I can do that now, and it's more acceptable. My coaches aren't going to say, no one ever was successful doing that. Well, look at Yuri.
Yeah. Or or techniques. Like I would go not necessarily like mimic completely styles of fighters, but techniques.
Hmm.
Like John Jones, for example, he was kind of the first one to do oblique kicks.
Yep.
Okay, now everyone started doing oblique kicks. Then Silva kept freaking Vitor.
Hmm.
Everyone started doing it. And then as of currently, all the rage is calf kicks.
Yep. Poof.
Oh my god, I want to slap the shit out of people because like I've literally heard UFC fans saying, "Oh, the reason why Muay Thai is not so popular is because they don't have calf kicks." Like motherfucker, Muay Thai checks kicks.
Hmm.
Most MMA fighters don't.
Hmm.
And the few times that fighters have checked kicks, some people break their legs.
Right.
Great example was 2 weekends ago when Weidman threw a naked calf kick and Hall just twisted his foot out,
Yep.
checking that calf kick, kind of showing everyone like, hey, don't be an idiot thinking these calf kicks are the be all end all type of thing.
Well, I think this year has been huge for calf kicks. I mean, we actually saw, I think, at least one or maybe two stoppages in the UFC due to calf kicks. And then obviously on the biggest scale, in one regard, I mean, calf kicks were extremely effective. Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor. And then on an equally big scale, you saw the defense aspect of a calf kick with, Hall and Weidman. So I think that, more people are aware of them, but people are also aware that there is a defense. You don't just have to take bruising and bruising and bruising and hope you can, get in and piece them up. So yeah, how do you incorporate that into your style? I mean, I'm sure it's not something, it doesn't sound like something that's new for you, but how do you look at calf kicks for yourself?
I don't mind people throwing them, but like everything, I don't know if it was I had more of a kind of a Thai startup, but you check fucking kicks. like, I get you can't check them all.
Mhm.
You check some. You check. You don't let just someone just keep kicking you in the leg.
Well, you don't let
I
somebody
know
just punch you in the face. So
exactly. Like
why would you let
you're
them?
going to pay, you're going to dip, you're going to slip. So why the fuck are you going to let them keep kicking you? And then you see these wrestlers like, oh, I'll just take it. I'll just take it. Well, yeah, you could take some until you get someone that can kick you hard enough. Where you're like, oh, I'm going to take them down. They kick you. You're like, I can't shoot anymore. It's like, well, fucking check.
Mobility
What
is,
is it?
is so huge, especially for a wrestler having to, close distance really, really quickly in order to score a takedown. I mean, your mobility is a huge factor in that.
Yeah. No, I've had maybe, I think, 3 or 4 fights with former professional boxers.
Mm-hmm.
I have leg kicked them to beat them on. Like, I leg kicked them and they've gone to the ground one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, well, that's your fault. And I see some of these guys like, oh, I'm a Thai guy, I'm this guy, and then not check a single leg kicking. I'm like, clearly you're not Thai enough because Thai fighters check leg kicks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I get if the dude comes up, gives you like a jab cross hook and you're blocking, and they follow through with leg kicking. You don't check. All right, I get getting hit, but all those naked kicks, and I've been definitely guilty of throwing naked kicks, but all those naked kicks that don't get checked, it's like, well, that right there. If you check that kick, that could have prevented more kicks,
Right.
and you might have broken his leg. Like,
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that we see, a lot of fighters going and training Muay Thai now, intentionally, not just, in the States going to a Muay Thai school, but actually going to Thailand to do some work. I've seen a couple of fighters, sort of people that I've watched just, it says fighting out of Thailand now. And it's interesting. I remember one of the most sort of egregious um, Thai adoptions was Khalil Roundtree versus I think it was Eric Anders. And as a fight, I believe Roundtree he was coming off like a TKO loss and he needed to switch something up, and so he went there, trained with them, and calf kicks played like arguably the decisive role in that fight, because towards the end, I mean, Eric Anders, super tough dude, but was limping in just the third round. It was a 3-round fight. So yeah, that style has caught on a lot.
yeah, but even then, like all the gyms I've went into train, there's plenty of coaches that are like, fucking check.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, they're like, I have heard so many coaches like, all right, Dan Henderson, not known for his Muay Thai skills at all,
Nope.
yells at people to check kicks. Like, he knows, like let's be real here. We know I'm gonna kick somebody.
He can recognize that the sport is evolving, and
Yeah, he's like, check his kick.
Mhm.
What was it? One of my teammates, I'll say Sam. As much as I love Sam, he doesn't believe in checking kicks. Like, like me and him joke very openly that he was like, I will check 1 out of 16 kicks, and then like I'll kick him, boom, 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 and then he checks one. He's like, yeah, I checked one. Woo! Like, he won. I'm like, man, just kick him again just to prove a point. I'm like, doesn't matter. You checked only one.
Yep. Yep. Well, I try to get everybody in the world to watch the podcast, but I will intentionally try to hide it from whoever Sam Alvey's next opponent is, so that they don't hear this advice. But
Dude, you can watch any of his fights. I don't think he's ever checked a kick.
yeah, funny. Just to quickly wrap up on your training partner Dom Reyes, it's a really interesting sort of career trajectory to me, where he goes 12-0. He looks unstoppable. I was actually in Boston when he fought Chris Weidman. Hit him with one punch and it was pretty much over. And then, obviously very controversial loss to John Jones, and then pretty decisive losses to Jan Blachowicz and Yuri. Um, I'm really curious where, I don't know if you've spoken to him, but just knowing him so well, where do you think he should go from here? Because it's not like he's, generally when someone has three losses, it's like, oh, like their career might be coming to a halt. With Dom, that's clearly not the case. I mean, he's fighting like the top of the top, and has had moments in all those fights. Maybe not the Yan fight, but certainly the other two fights where he looked damn good, and it looked like he might finish the fight himself. So,
Yeah.
what do you think? Where do you think he should go from here? Do you think that he should, try to fight someone who's a little bit lower down the rankings, or take some time? What do you think is best for Dom? Just knowing him so well.
Well, like I know him more on a professional level, not a personal level. So when he he's out and about, he does his out and about stuff.
Sure,
That,
sure.
but like as a fighter, I would say take some time off. Obviously, recover. Boom. That's his should be number one priority. Followed by there's no need to rush the next fight. He doesn't need to fight in 2 months. You know, he needs to just sharpen up some tools. And even then, like the Yuri fight, like he came in weird. But Dom did not look terrible. Like I lost count how many times that Yuri took a left hand by Dom. I'm like,
There were times where there were multiple times. Again, the fight went less than 2 rounds. There were multiple times where I thought each guy, I was like, it's over. It's over.
yeah.
There's no
Oh
way.
yeah,
And then it's like, how? And now they're standing back up and everything's normal.
yeah. And that left hand though, but Yuri's poker face was the start. Like
Hmm.
I'm like,
You just don't know if he's dazed or if he's waiting, like, come on it back in. Yeah.
the moment where he was this, the one time, like it wasn't his face that gave it away. It was his body doing this. His face was
Yeah. You could tell a
like,
lot from the legs. Yeah.
give that man an Oscar.
It was good acting. So, yeah, definitely some time. Do you have an opponent you'd like to see him face, or a style? Maybe, I mean, he's been fighting a lot of strikers, maybe a wrestler or something.
Yeah, no, I honestly I would just like to see him get back into the win column. That would always boost someone's spirits. Uh, yeah, maybe someone in the top 10. Uh, I really don't know any of the guys in the top 10.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, I
You've
don't.
got Glover fighting for the title. You've got Rakic and Yuri looking like they're gonna fight. I guess a really interesting one for me would maybe be either Thiago Santos or Anthony Smith.
I would like to see him fight Anthony Smith. I actually reason why is I like Thiago Silva a lot, or Thiago Santos a lot more than I like Anthony Smith.
Okay.
So I don't want to have that emotional fight. I'm just like, oh, I'd rather him to fight Anthony Smith. Plus, I think Anthony Smith has a little bit more uh, all around, and I think it would be a more enticing of a fight
Hmm.
to fight Anthony Smith because he hasn't really fought a high level grappler. I think like Glover would have been an interesting fight for him too.
He would, yeah, he definitely.
So I think Anthony Smith would be a good one. Or another good option would be is Jim Crute.
Oh,
Uh,
well, yeah, yeah. After his leg heals up a bit,
yeah,
that would be a really interesting fight. Two really tough guys.
yeah. So I mean, he still has a few dudes that I think where he stays relevant. Um, that not necessarily not going to put the beat down on each other, but and I also think he needs to take a step back from 5 rounds, just focus on 3
Hmm.
for right now. You don't need to be headlining. Just take a step back, have 3 rounds.
Sure, sure. Yeah, a lot of headlines, a lot of bright lights, main events. So shifting gears a little bit, I'm curious. I mean, you're 2 weeks away from your fight. Justin Tafa, he's had more UFC fights than you, but obviously you have a lot more professional fights than he. Are you happy with the matchup? How did it come to be? What made you accept this fight? And Are you happy that you're squaring off against him?
Yeah, no. So basically, how that came to be was I was actually in Vegas at the PI doing all my PI stuff. I was just trying to like see where I'm at as a whole, like as a fighter, as everything. I was like, where do I stand up against everyone else?
Mhm.
I get a message from my manager like, hey, you want to fight this weekend? And I'm like, yeah, I do. It was the opponent I think was Phil Lentz or something.
This weekend. Wow.
No.
When was
This was
this?
like 8, 9 weeks ago, maybe 10.
So that's
Like
very shortly after your first fight.
it was very short, like 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not even exaggerating. It was very short after my last fight. I'm like, I'm down. My medical might say otherwise. If you could see what you can do, what Mick could do, see what, because I'm already here in town.
Mhm.
I
You're ready
can
to
make,
go. Yeah.
I'm good to go. Like I was, and they're like, hey, we we can't get that fight for you, but we appreciate you being willing to step up on week notice, blah, 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 blah. It's like, hey, in turn, here's two fighters. They're like Greg Hardy and Justin Tafa. I
Ooh.
was like, cool. So, but before I jumped on the names, because I was leaning Greg Hardy, I was like, all right, we'll do Greg Hardy.
I heard you talk a little smack about him after the Dana White Contender Series. I thought that might be an
I
interesting.
stand by that statement. But I will respect the guy for getting proven. Okay. He's starting to wear on me. But I'm excited for his next fight against Tai Tuivasa. That is going to be one fucking banger of a fight. I
I
don't.
don't think that goes to decision.
If it does, that would be the shocking part. That one should be a banger. I'm leaning towards Tai though. I think his stand up's a little bit better, and I think his cardio is better.
Me too.
But it's going to be a fun fight. Now, so I was like, I'm thinking Greg Hardy. I send it to my coaches because I'm not going to make a decision like that without their backing / blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like at first, everyone was like Greg Hardy, and then one of my coaches was like, "Yo, timeout, Tafa." I'm like, "All right." I'm going throughout my day, so they're talking back and forth. Blah, 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 blah. Then they're like, by the end of the night, they're like, "Yo, we want Tafa. Here's Y, X, Y, and Z. Here's Y, A, B, and C." It's like, let's just do Tafa. I'm like, all right, we're doing Tafa. Message my manager, like, my team says Tafa, so we're doing Tafa. That is kind of how that went. Like, if my team didn't if my team was split, we would flip a quarter or something, and we would pick someone from that.
Mm-hmm.
But because my team all decided that Tafa would be the right choice to go, I'm like Tafa.
Excellent. Yeah. So, I mean, Justin Tafa, I've watched all three of his fights in UFC. Obviously, two have not gone his way. One has. Looks pretty good. In terms of like sizing up the fighter, watching film, watching, or maybe being aware of his, previous couple of fights. How do you prepare for Justin Tafa?
I mean, him being a lefty helps because all my partners that I just stated are lefties predominantly. So that there's that natural boom. I have that. Uh, Comes from a very good kickboxing team. Like he trained with, I stated Tai Tuivasa. You know, he's not training with no slouchy person. He's like Tai Tuivasa. He's also training with Mark Hunt. I mean, it's Mark motherfucking Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a fan of Hunt.
The walk-off KO, man. Yep.
Yeah. And then his brother, I actually was intrigued because I like kickboxing. His brother's a glory kickboxer, Junior Tafa.
Yep.
So, like, I know the one thing I do know is he gonna stand up at least a little bit.
Right.
I think his stand up's gonna be fun match because I like standing up, he likes standing up. So I do think that could, be a banger in that sense.
Mhm.
Um, again, he's a lefty. I like fighting lefties, so
Yep.
that's always a plus.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're familiar with him, that you already were familiar with him, and obviously you've had some time to think about it. I did hear one of your other interviews where you predicted a spinning wheel kick knockout, which I would love to see, but I definitely chuckled when you said it. If a spinning wheel kick seems like it's not going to work out, do you think that you mentioned obviously Tafa would like to stand? Do you think that you'll try to get the fight to the ground, or do you think that you'll try to stand up with him and see, maybe who's the better kickboxer boxer? How do you see that working out if the spinning wheel kick doesn't work?
See, like everyone's like, take him down, take him down. Have you seen the man? Like he's anywhere from 6 foot to 6'3", give or take. Because I mean, some of those measurements are like you look at him like it says 6 foot. He looks like he's 6'10".
Mm-hmm.
All right, whatever. Uh, so I'm assuming anywhere from 6 foot, 6'3", plus there might be the slight variation from metric to was it imperial to metric.
Yep.
So there could be that slight variation. So in all fairness, I don't want to sit there and be like, boom. I think what was, shooting on a boulder of a man might not be the best idea. Like, boom. The dude looks like he has some big ass legs. His core looks, yeah, he might have a little fat, but don't get it twisted. There's muscle and power behind that dude.
Certainly not an easy guy to get to the ground.
Yeah. So getting him to the ground, it might not be the best of ways. That's why I'm trying to lean down. So I'm the quicker of the two. As more like, especially striking, the leaner guy tends to be the faster guy.
Right.
I do have some reach on him too, so that helps. But if I'm a lot, not only say a lot, but if I'm a lot leaner or leaner than I am now, maybe my speed could basically kill his power.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully,
I'm really excited for that fight. I'd also be surprised if that one went to decision. So let's see what happens, and then chat a little bit more about it. I'm excited to see that, and I think there's a lot of possibilities just in terms of like the heavyweight division really has had a lot of newcomers in the past couple of years, and there's some great fighters working their way up the ladder. I know you've called out sort of Greg Hardy a little bit, Tom Aspinall a little bit. What other fighters sort of excite you in the division for potential matchups?
I would like to. Is it Carlos Felipe? Carlos,
Mm-hmm.
just his last opponent. That I think would be a fun fight. Again, he's a boxer, so stylistically, I like fighting boxers.
Sure.
That'd be a fun fight. But there's definitely a bunch of other fighters. Maybe even Parker Porter or Justin Parisian. Those would be some fun fights. So I'm not necessarily trying to climb up the ladder as fast as I can. I don't want to stay bottom of the barrel, but I don't want to just like Dom shot to the top pretty quick.
Yeah.
And good for him. That was his goal. I don't necessarily want to shoot to the top. I want to work my way to the top. And I like fighting. Like that, I think maybe trumps my desire to be champion immediately. Is I want to fight more so than I want to be champion. And it's not that I don't want to be a champion, but I just don't want to shoot my way to the top. Be like, yeah, I'm champion. Because, once you're a champion, you don't get to fight whoever you want, really.
No, you fight crazy killers, and you got a huge target on your back.
Yeah, and there's not even like in a sense like the heavyweight division small. If I'm not trying to rush to the top, I have more options to fight a little bit of everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and I would enjoy actually fighting everybody. I don't need I want to fight everybody. Like I mean, there's a whole list of people. Like I want to fight Orlovsky. I want to fight Olenek. I want to fight. I just want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I'd like to go with who's fighting tonight, Maurice Green.
Yep.
Like, I'm not like I must be the champion. I'm like, I want to fight you all,
I think
and
that's
then
a good way to
eventually
look
make
at
my way to championship rounds.
it. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we've seen a lot of people get catapulted just because they have sort of that, that it factor. They have, a crazy knockout or something. And it's really tough for them, because you get catapulted. And I think there's a big difference between fighting number 8 through 10 and then fighting, number 2 through 4. So I think that's a good approach. One fighter that I really look at right now, who I think is doing a pretty wise job, is Sean O'Malley, the 135er. He keeps fighting sort of unranked opponents, but sort of different skill sets and whatnot. And I think that is pretty wise, because I'm sure they've offered him ranked opponents. And he's still relatively new into his UFC career, and I'd like to see more people that have some success early on, like not get catapulted, because I feel like it can really sort of derail a career and derail confidence and derail, just all that belief that fighters need to have in themselves.
I mean, I feel like that's a fair assumption or statement about O'Malley. Okay, I was very indifferent on him as a human, didn't care, and people loved him for whatever reason. Cool, he I think kind of has it back. Whatever, I was very indifferent until he cried about that fucking calf kick against Cheeto.
Against Cheeto Vera. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe again biased. I used to train with Cheeto for cardio.
Oh, okay.
So I know him. I think he's a good person. I think the dude is a top-notch human being. For him to go, that didn't count. No, motherfucker. You not checking is the reason why you went down.
Yep.
That's all you had to fucking do.
Yeah.
And to act you didn't lose, fuck you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's my
Hey,
my viewpoint on that.
no, that's how you feel. And I think that fight really was really divisive for like a lot of people. I feel like a lot of casuals and obviously people that really like Sean were like, oh, run it back, run it back. Like that wouldn't happen again. That's like a fluke thing. People that are more like hardcore, more, tuned into the calf kicks, or maybe, we're rooting for Cheeto, or like, no, that's super legit.
Yeah, no, like again, I don't necessarily think they should be this effective
Yeah.
because I believe in checking. But when you're not checking and someone's landing on you, no one's going to be like, oh, let's run it back because he landed a head kick.
Right. Right.
It's an effective tool. You're like, if your hands down and the foot comes across, whose fault is that? The person that, didn't defend the head kick, or the person throwing the head kick? It's not Cheeto's fault that fucking O'Malley didn't check.
No, no. Yeah, I mean, no one is begging for like Askren versus Masvidal again, and
Yeah.
that's the same thing. I mean, just one strike did it in. Um, Excellent. One question that I had for you, it's kind of a silly question, but the UFC always has like these nicknames, right? And everybody seems to have a nickname, some a lot more prolific than others. Yours is the Mountain, which I feel physique-wise fits you pretty well. I mean, you're really strong, tall guy. And I mean, you obviously have to cut a little bit of weight to get down to the heavyweight limit. How did you get that nickname, the Mountain? Did they give it to you? Did they ask you to choose one? Did a commentator give it to you? How did you become the Mountain?
There's just this comes back to like my old manager. They were like, "Hey, do you have any names that people call you?" I'm like, "Depends on where you're fucking at. Like depending on who you hang out with, depends on who you're talking to." So I'm like, here's a bunch of names that people call me. Some of the more fun ones were taken out, which I was upset about. Big fuck was like on top of my list. Wasn't allowed that one. I thought that one was fun, marketable, but no. I was just like,
maybe for an 18 plus audience or something, but
I-
I
I'm
can't
fine with
see
that.
the UFC inking deals with like ABC and ESPN. That would be pretty entertaining to have you come out and have that like on a
Just
t-shirt
a,
or something.
yeah, yeah. Hey, I mean, fucking Ben Askren made a T-shirt with Darren Till calling him a curly-headed fuck.
Sure did. Yeah, he sure did. That's funny.
Uh, so
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I thought that was doable.
that was the one
Uh,
that stuck. Yeah. Cool.
and then like some of my nerdier friends that I would play Yu-Gi-Oh with would call me Blue Eyes White Dragon because I'm big as shit, blue eyes, and obviously white.
Yeah.
And I had, especially when I was younger, I had more fascination with dragons. Granted, I landed more towards the red eyes black dragon deck, but it's here nor there.
That's funny. What types of stuff do you do outside? I mean, you just mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh, and obviously, you know, you have a family. I'm sure that takes up a lot of time. But what are sort of your hobbies outside of UFC when you're not, you know, when you're not training?
Uh, Literally, it's just like three things, maybe four. There's playing video games, anime, and manga.
What was the last one?
Manga, which kind of correlates with anime,
Okay, cool.
and occasionally shopping. That just because I occasionally like to buy random shit. But for the most part, that I'm either watching anime, uh, reading manga, or playing video games.
Yep, cool.
I just was it like 2 weeks ago. I got a full 100% completion on Cyberpunk 2077. Considering with all the bugs and stuff, I guess that's a really hard trophy to achieve,
Yeah.
but I achieved it.
Excellent. Yeah. So it sounds like all of those hobbies allow you to get the rest that you need when it comes to like, you know, when you're not training. Is
Yeah,
that accurate?
yeah, and it most of those hobbies are just from childhood. Like I've always been a giant anime fan. Like people like because it's cool now. Like everyone's like, "Oh, I like anime." I'm like,
Yep.
"Okay, cool. I like the fact that you like anime, but fuck you."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like I remember telling someone, I was like, "Yeah, I plan on looking up this anime." They're like, "Oh, you're into anime now?" I'm like, "Now, bitch, I've been into anime. Like now, that's insulting." It's
Sure.
just it was harder to talk about it in high school, middle school, when you're like, "Yeah, I like Cowboy Bebop, I like Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha." Was it Astro Boy? And they were like, "What the fuck is that?"
Right, right, right. Yeah, when it's not the cool thing, usually you don't talk about it because it usually brings like some bullies or some, you know, someone's like you know, makes fun of you for it. But when someone like Netflix adds an entire section dedicated to it, yeah, people change up real quick.
Yeah, and then all these people that would be like, "Oh, you're stupid for watching it." I've got messages like, "Yo, I'm sorry for being a dick. Hellsing's actually a really good anime." I'm like, "Oh, now you watch it after it became cool," or like I've got on a few of them where like, "Yeah, my kids started watching anime. I got into it. My bad." Like,
Yep.
you a dick.
Well, self-reflection is important, right? I don't know. So I guess the last thing that just wanted to run through with you is there's obviously like a crazy amount of big fights coming up. Just wanted to get like your quick picks on a couple matchups. For the 155 belt, Chandler Oliveira, who do you see winning that?
I want Oliver to win.
Yeah. And Ferguson versus Benil Dariush.
I'll go Ferguson because I don't know the other guy.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Adesanya versus Vittori,
I want to say Adesanya.
a fellow anime lover, right?
Yeah, I feel like he only likes Naruto, so
maybe not hardcore anime, but at least
Yeah, like I mean, I'm not knocking him. If he has, if he likes Naruto, fine, let him like it. It's
sure.
just a Dragon Ball Z ripoff, but that's not here nor there right now.
Yep. And the last one, Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards.
Oh, Nate,
Yeah,
for sure. Uh, I don't know. There's something about Leon Edwards I don't like.
sure.
So
He's very quiet, I think, for a UFC fighter. He definitely doesn't lack confidence. May even be considered cocky, but um, he's unusually quiet for in interviews. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. There's just something about him I don't like. Like I don't know. I feel like there's a reason why Masvidal just started piecing him up.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I don't know, I don't know if it's coming from okay, I live in Hammond, California, which is not by any means a safe or nice neighborhood. Like the actual street I live on is one of the highest crime rated parts, and Hammond is slowly shooting up to the climbing the ranks of high crime and all that stuff. So
mm-hmm.
I kind of live a bit in the hood area. And someone like Masvidal, who I know was raised in the streets, Diaz brothers, uh, when there's like those certain people, they could be some of the nicest fucking people you'll ever meet. But when you make them switch from, hey, I've changed my life around, I'm doing good things, to going back to their hood shit, you fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that are very gang oriented, or they were gang oriented, that came out of the ghettos, done great shit. They become the nicest people you want as your friend. They're loyal to you. They hook you up, vice versa. But the moment you make that person go back to their old self, you fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not like,
Person. Yeah.
yeah, like for Maslow to give someone 3-piece. And granted, in all fairness, I will give the caveat, Masvidal just came off a fight against someone that annoyed him.
Mm-hmm.
There's that, oh yeah, I just won, especially with no injuries.
Right.
So he wasn't, he might have been a lot more hot-headed. But I also know that from my experience of people getting out of the ghetto and, doing something better for themselves, for them to go back to their kind of the hood ways, you fucked up.
Yeah, there's some antagonizing going on.
Yeah, so that maybe is the reason why Edwards rubs me the wrong way,
mm-hmm.
because you made someone like Masvidal kind of go back to his, kind of old self to get. And honestly, I think if it wasn't for Masvidal doing that, or no, for Masvidal for doing that, I don't think Edwards would be relevant.
Well, it definitely escalated both of them, more than any fight, I think, in their careers to that point. It was big news. Unfortunately, I don't know if we're gonna get to see them square off with each other. That'd be a really entertaining fight.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think it would be the fight I think regardless if Edwards wins or loses, I think it would be the fight to make. Well, if he loses, I think Nate and Masvidal 2 would be more appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
But if Leon, I think Masvidal versus Leon would just be as appropriate.
Yeah, I like the idea of giving the winner of that matchup to Masvidal. It seems like a logical next step for the winner and Masvidal.
Either guys.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for coming on, the interview, answering all the questions. I wish you like the best of luck when you face off against Justin Tafa in 2 weeks, and I'll definitely be watching and rooting for you, Jared.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.